I have never been to New York in my life, not once. 98 years on this earth, and I had never stood in the middle of Manhattan until last Tuesday. My daughter drove me. She's been asking for years. I always said, maybe next time, maybe when I feel stronger, maybe in the spring. And then the years went by, and spring came and went, and I always found a reason why not. So last Tuesday, she just put me in the car and drove. And I stood there on that sidewalk, this old woman from a small town in Texas who has never lived more than 100 miles from where she was born. And I looked up at those buildings and I thought, I am not sorry I didn't come sooner. That surprised me. I expected to feel regret. I expected to think, look at all I missed. But I didn't. I looked at those buildings and I felt nothing much. A little awe, maybe. Mostly just tired from the drive. And then on the way home, somewhere in New Jersey when it was dark outside and my daughter was quiet and the road just went on and on, it came to me. The real list. Not the places I didn't go. Not the things I didn't see. 5 things I did every single day of my long, ordinary life in that small Texas town that cost me more than any trip ever could have. That's what I want to tell you about today. My name is Marlene. I'm 98 years old. I married at 18, raised 5 children, buried a husband, outlived 2 of my closest friends. I have lived a quiet life, a good life by most measures, and I have made 5 mistakes so small and so constant that I didn't see them until I was sitting in a car in New Jersey in the dark. The first thing. I spent my whole life waiting to feel ready to speak up at the school board meeting when they made a decision I knew was wrong, ready to tell my mother-in-law that her comments about my cooking were unkind, ready to ask my husband, really ask him, not the surface version, how he was doing inside, ready to sit my oldest son down and say, I see you struggling and I love you, and you don't have to pretend with me. I was always almost ready, just not quite yet. I told myself I needed more information, more courage, a better moment, the right words. I was careful. I was considerate. I didn't want to cause a scene or say the wrong thing or make it worse. So I waited. And the school board made their decision. And my mother-in-law said what she said for 20 years. And my husband died of a heart attack at 67, and I never had that real conversation. And my son is 64 now, and we still talk about the weather and the grandchildren and nothing that matters. The moment never came because I never made it come. Here's what I know now. Readiness is a feeling that lies to you. You will not feel ready. Not for the important things. The important things require you to go first, before you feel ready, before you have the right words, before you know how it will land. You go first, and the readiness comes after. Sometimes. Or it doesn't. And you said what needed to be said anyway. I wasted so many moments waiting to feel ready. Those moments don't come back. The second thing. I spent my whole life shrinking myself to keep the peace. Not in dramatic ways. Not in ways anyone would notice or name. Small ways. Constant ways. I would have an opinion and then watch which way the room was going, and adjust. I would want something and then decide it wasn't worth the discussion. I would feel hurt and then tell myself I was being too sensitive. I would start to say something true and then soften it so much by the end that it wasn't true anymore. It was just comfortable. I became very good at comfortable. My husband used to say, "Marlene never makes a fuss." He meant it as a compliment. I took it as one. I was proud of it. I'm not proud of it anymore. Because here's what I didn't understand then. Every time you shrink yourself to keep the peace, you are teaching everyone around you that your full size is optional, that your real opinions are negotiable, that your needs can be set aside when they're inconvenient. And people learn that lesson very well. They don't even mean to. You just taught them. And then you wonder why you feel invisible, why you feel like no one really knows you, why conversations feel like performances. They feel like performances because you turned them into performances to keep the peace. The peace wasn't worth it. I promise you, the peace was not worth it. I'm not saying fight with everyone. I'm saying take up your space. Say the true thing kindly, but say the true thing. Let people know who you actually are. It is not too much to ask. It is the minimum. If this is reaching something in you, subscribe to this channel. Not because I have answers. I'm 98 years old and I'm still figuring it out. But sometimes it helps to hear someone say the thing out loud that you've been carrying quietly. That's all this is. The third thing. I spent my whole life taking care of everyone's feelings except my own. I knew what every person in my house needed before they knew themselves. I could feel a shift in the air, a tone of voice, a particular silence, and I would move, adjust the dinner plan, change the subject, create space, smooth it over, keep everyone okay. I thought that was love. In many ways it was. But there's a version of that, and I lived in that version for decades, where you are so focused on everyone else's emotional temperature that you have no idea what your own is, where you have spent so long managing the room that you've forgotten you're also in the room. I remember one Thanksgiving, all 5 kids home, grandchildren everywhere, chaos in the kitchen, and my youngest daughter pulled me aside and said, "Mom, are you happy right now?" And I looked at her and I genuinely did not know. I had been so busy making sure everyone else was happy that I had no access to my own answer. That's not selflessness. That's disappearance. You can love people deeply and still check in with yourself. You can take care of others and still count yourself as one of the people who needs taking care of. These things are not in conflict. I just never believed that. I thought caring for myself was something I'd get to when everyone else was settled. Everyone else was never fully settled. That's just life. The fourth thing. I spent my whole life being grateful for less than I deserved and calling it humility. I grew up without much. Depression-era family. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was taken for granted. Gratitude was survival. And genuine gratitude is a beautiful thing. I believe that completely. I have believed it my whole life. But somewhere along the way, my gratitude curdled into something else. into a habit of accepting less, of not asking for more, because who was I to ask, of quietly tolerating things that weren't right, because at least I had something. At least I wasn't complaining. My husband got a promotion once and we celebrated. When I took on extra work at the church for 3 years straight, organized the whole summer program, recruited volunteers, wrote the curriculum, nobody celebrated. I didn't expect them to. That's just what you do. But why? Why is it just what you do? Why did I never stop and say, I have given a lot here. I would like to be seen. I would like someone to say thank you. Not because I needed the praise, but because it was true, and the truth deserved to be spoken. Humility is good, but there is a false humility that is really just learned smallness. That tells you that wanting to be recognized is vanity, that needing appreciation is weakness, that a good woman doesn't keep score. A good woman doesn't keep score, and then she dies having given everything and received the assumption that she was fine with it. I was mostly fine with it, but I shouldn't have been, and neither should you. The fifth thing, and this is the one that sat with me all the way home from New York. I spent my whole life believing that the big moments were somewhere else. Not here. Not in this kitchen at 7 in the morning. Not in this ordinary Tuesday. Somewhere more significant. Somewhere that would feel important. A trip. A milestone. A someday. So I moved through my ordinary days efficiently, functionally, getting things done, taking care of business, and I saved my full attention for the big moments that were coming. Except the big moments were always coming. They were rarely here. And what was here, every single day right in front of me, was my actual life. The coffee in the morning before anyone else was up, my children's voices in the next room, my husband reading in his chair, the light in October when it goes golden and low, and everything looks like it's saying goodbye. I moved through all of that efficiently. I was in New Jersey in the dark when I understood this. My daughter was driving, and she had one hand on the wheel, and she was humming something quietly to herself. Not for me, just for herself. And I looked at her profile in the dark, and I thought, this is it. This is a big moment. Right now. This ordinary Tuesday night drive home from a city I wasn't even that impressed by. This is the thing I've been waiting for. It was here the whole time. I have had 98 years of ordinary Tuesdays. Each one of them was the thing. I just kept looking past them for something more. Don't look past yours. Stop waiting to feel ready. Go first. The readiness will follow, or it won't. Stop shrinking yourself to keep a piece that was never worth your full size. Stop disappearing into everyone else's feelings and forgetting you're in the room too. Stop calling it humility when you accept less than you deserve. And stop moving through your ordinary days waiting for the real ones to start. The real ones are the ordinary ones. They always were. My name is Marlene. I'm 98 years old. I live 100 miles from where I was born, and I have never needed to go much further than that to find everything that mattered. I just needed to stop long enough to see it. I almost didn't.